more that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.
Good afternoon, everyone. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Welcome to Live at 5, Staying Regulated in a Dysregulated World. Boy, is it ever dysregulated. That's certainly the messaging that we're seeing on all of our social streams. Welcome all. Today's going to be a short one because I actually had to take care of my own regulation today. I had to get off island and do something that is a priority for me in my own effort to stay regulated during, let's say, a particularly demanding period in my life. There's a lot of demand placed upon me and our company for what we do. I want to meet everyone's need, carrying our message of being the change that you want to see. And that can wear me down if I don't take care of myself. So there are things that I have identified over time that I find very useful, helpful, and I'd go so far as to say necessary in what I must do to ensure that I can continue to be of service in living my purpose and helping others. An inventory of what those things are for you is definitely a recommendation. Are you living in such a way where you are unaware of the things that replenish your sense of spirit? Are you aware of activities, endeavors that are purpose fueling for you? There are plenty of people who go through the world questioning or wondering their purpose and on a journey to find that out. But sometimes they let that journey go because of the difficulty that many people can report in securing a sense of purpose. I have to tell you that when you find it, it's among the most rewarding things that can be experienced. What will wear on that sense of purpose is demand for whatever it is that you do, and if you are not engaging in the practices, activities that allow you to live your purpose in such a way that it's not unidimensional, like it's all that you do. Some people can do that. I will say that there are some unicorns that seem to do particularly well at only doing one thing. By and large, however, I've never seen them at peace. Instead, they seem stuck, if that makes any sense. The samurai, if you're into that kind of thing, would find as a fundamental way to reacquire a state of regulation is to accept that they were already dead, that their outcome was invariably going to be death during their service as a samurai, and that when they squared with that, everything else was non-arousing. There is something to be said about the ancient principles of squaring with one's own mortality. Now, I would agree with the idea that it's particularly hard when you're young to consider those kinds of things. But these are anchored in, many of the world religions and philosophies for a reason. And I'm not encouraging everyone right now to immediately start contemplating your own mortality or death. But what I am suggesting is a journey into the consciousness and awareness that there are things at work bigger than you or me, that there is a high likelihood that shortly after my death, my memory will be significant only to a few. That was an interesting thing for me to square with. The idea, I actually have to start my truck and board the ferry. The idea that any ideas or images of grandeur or being known or legacy, like Achilles of Troy, that was quickly out the window when I thought that through to the bottom. So I realized I better start squaring with the fact that um, while I do meaningful work, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm doing the very best I can to change the lives of others, really doesn't mean much at the end of it all. Um, it's part of something. It's a thread of something. I'm glad I could contribute to the color of the tapestry of life. But the idea that, I'm the tapestry, I spent a lot of hours suffering that and engaging in patterns of behavior that were fueled by that. It's a much different set of circumstances today to live and work, always having in the background that suffering is still going to be here when I'm gone. Seclusion and restraint is probably still going to be here when I'm gone. Aging has helped this. I actually thought that unnecessary suffering could be curtailed in my lifetime, particularly in psychiatric settings. I was wrong about that. I mean, I'd be pleasantly surprised if it was, but the likelihood is low. And it doesn't mean I'm giving up. I mean, that's the thing. It doesn't mean that I'm surrendering. Well, why continue? Well, because why not? I choose to. If there's suffering I can mitigate today, that's useful. So, how does one stay regulated under all of these dysregulating conditions? I have found it particularly useful to truly limit the amount of messaging that goes into my consciousness about things that are awful and terrible. That can be terribly influential in my commitment level today to do something meaningful. I would encourage you to do something similar. Uh, when it comes to uh, practices that you can explore, uh, following some of the neuroscience on this, I have found particularly useful, and I would encourage you to consider that, particularly going to Andrew Huberman's Instagram account and looking at the hacks that he has available to engage in episodic stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system so that you can calm down. Whether that's 2 quick inhales through the nose, 1 big exhale through the mouth to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, that's particularly useful. Policing to some degree the streams that come into your consciousness. You can't be regulated and preserve that during dysregulation, someone stimulating that, without being able to lay claim to it. What is it like for you to feel regulated? I do know what that's like for me. What it's like for me, generally speaking, is acceptance of where I am in the world and who I am and how unimportant I am. I'm not saying that human beings aren't important. What I am saying is that in the grand scheme of humanity, it is particularly useful to not make yourself the center of the universe and instead to consider the duty of being useful to others. I have found that very useful in regulating my own nervous system, particularly in the service front. So, I don't know. I'm certainly not a philosopher, and I'm certainly not a social scientist, but I am someone who's familiar with suffering, and I am someone who is constantly having to manage the growing demands that the attention economy is placing upon me in my work. And I have found the need to prioritize acquiring a state of regulation paramount so that I can hold on to it when there are demands placed upon me that might tilt me or pull me toward dysregulation. That's about the best I can come up with today on that topic under these conditions. But I did have a good time today doing one of the things that I do to attend to my own needs so that I can continue to be of service. I did a pretty long stretch out of town. I came right back into a lot of demanding work, and I had to do something to take care of that. So I feel better about that today. All the best to you, and I wish you all well. Give yourself some peace from the social media. Give yourself some grounding in the moment. What's in front of you at home? The food in your cabinet, your pet being content, the possessions you have, the relationships you currently have. Ground yourself in those, and that can be very useful in reminding yourself that things are okay. Be well.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
More that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.